Alya stood frozen in the chamber, the Keeper's words echoing in her mind. The ascension is inevitable. The artifact behind her pulsed with energy, crackling with an intensity she had never seen before. Every second they spent in this underground chamber felt like a ticking bomb, the atmosphere charged with raw power. "We need to get out of here," Callan said, his voice cutting through the tense silence. He glanced at the artifact warily, his hand on his blaster. "This place is unstable, and that artifact is about to blow." "No," Alya replied, her voice firm but quiet. "We can't leave it behind. The Keeper said the ascension is already happening, which means these artifacts are more dangerous than we thought. We have to figure out how to stop them." Mira's scanner beeped wildly, her face lined with stress as she studied the data. "Captain, the artifact's energy output is reaching critical levels. If we don't stabilize it soon, it could trigger a massive explosion, and that's just the beginning. It's linked to the others. If this one goes, it could set off a chain reaction." Alya's heart raced. "Then we don't have a choice. We stabilize it and take it with us." Mira hesitated, then nodded, her eyes filled with determination. "I'll do what I can, but it's going to take time. The energy patterns are erratic. There's something else affecting it." Alya's mind flashed back to the Keeper. He had said that the artifacts were part of a greater design. What if the Keepers weren't just protecting the artifacts? What if they were manipulating them, controlling the ascension, pushing it forward? "Work fast," Alya said, her voice tense. "We might not have much time." Outside the chamber, the planet's surface trembled, cracks spreading across the barren landscape as the energy from the artifact deep within the planet began to seep out. High above, in the skies, the Vraath cruisers that had chased the stellar dawn through the asteroid field circled back. They had lost track of Alya's ship, but their sensors were now locked onto the powerful energy signature emanating from below. On board the Vraath command ship, Commander Zale watched the tactical displays with cold, calculating eyes. He had been chasing Alya Trent and her crew for what felt like an eternity, but now he sensed that the endgame was near. "The artifact is awakening," Zale said, his voice low but filled with a dark anticipation. "Prepare the strike team. We're going down to secure it." His officers nodded, moving quickly to prepare for deployment. The Vraath were relentless in their pursuit of the artifacts, and Zale knew that securing this one would bring him closer to unlocking the full potential of the ancient power. But he also knew Alya Trent would be there, trying to stop him. "Captain Trent," Zale muttered to himself, a cruel smile tugging at the corners of his lips. "You've been a worthy adversary, but this is where it ends." Back in the underground chamber, Mira worked frantically, her hands moving rapidly across her datapad as she tried to stabilize the artifact. The glowing object pulsed with violent energy, sending ripples of power through the air. Every few seconds, the ground beneath them would rumble, the cracks in the chamber's walls growing wider. "I've never seen anything like this," Mira said, her voice strained. "It's like the artifact is feeding off something external." Alya's eyes narrowed. "The Keeper." Mira looked up, confused. "The Keeper?" Alya nodded. "He said the ascension was inevitable. What if they're not just trying to protect the artifacts? What if they're actively trying to trigger the ascension?" Mira's face paled. "You think they're accelerating the process?" Alya clenched her fists. "I think they're using the artifacts as a catalyst. The more we collect, the more powerful the network becomes. But the Keepers aren't just sitting back and watching. They're guiding it, pushing it forward." "We have to stop it," Mira said, panic creeping into her voice. "If the ascension is triggered, we have no idea what will happen." Alya nodded grimly. "We stabilize this artifact, then we figure out how to shut the whole network down." Before Mira could respond, the ground shook violently, and a deafening roar echoed through the chamber. Dust and debris rained down from the ceiling as a large section of the wall collapsed. Kalen rushed forward, his blaster raised. "We've got incoming!" Alya's heart sank as a group of Wraith soldiers poured through the breach, their weapons drawn and ready. Behind them, a towering figure emerged, Commander Zale, his eyes gleaming with cold ambition. "Alya Trent," Zale said, his voice dripping with contempt. "I knew I'd find you here." Alya leveled her blaster at him. "You're too late, Zale. This artifact isn't yours." Zale chuckled darkly, his gaze flicking to the glowing object at the center of the chamber. You think you can stop what's already begun? The Ascension is beyond your control, but I can harness it. Not if I stop you first, Alya shot back, her voice steady. Zale smiled, his hand reaching for his weapon. You're welcome to try. The Vraath soldiers opened fire, and the chamber erupted into chaos. Alya dove behind a fallen piece of debris, her blaster in hand as she returned fire. Kaelin and the rest of her team spread out, engaging the Vraath in a fierce firefight. Mira, still working frantically to stabilize the artifact, was caught in the middle of the chaos. The artifact flared with light, and a shockwave of energy pulsed through the room, sending everyone staggering back. We can't hold them off forever. Kaelin shouted over the noise, his voice strained as he ducked behind cover. There's too many of them. Alya fired another shot, taking down one of the Vraath soldiers. Her heart pounded in her chest as she realized Kaelin was right. They were outnumbered, and the artifact was becoming more unstable by the second. Mira, how much longer? Alya called out, her voice filled with urgency. I'm almost there, Mira shouted back, her hands flying over her datapad. Just a few more seconds. Alya ducked as a blast of plasma shot over her head, the heat from the shot singeing the air. Her mind raced as she tried to think of a way to turn the tide of the battle. They couldn't hold out much longer, but if Mira could stabilize the artifact, they might have a chance to escape. Suddenly, a massive shockwave rippled through the chamber, throwing everyone to the ground. The artifact flared with brilliant light, and a deep, rumbling sound filled the air. Alya's vision blurred as the energy from the artifact surged through the room, filling her mind with strange, fragmented images. Visions of ancient cities, of towering figures bathed in light, and of the stars themselves collapsing into darkness. She gasped for breath, her body trembling as the vision faded. The artifact was at the center of it all, its power tied to something far greater than she had ever imagined. It wasn't just a weapon, it was a key, a gateway to something vast and unknowable. The Ascension, Alya whispered, her heart pounding. It's not just about power, it's about transformation. Before she could process the implications of her vision, Mira's voice cut through the haze. Captain, I've stabilized it, but we need to get out of here, now. Alya didn't hesitate. Fall back. We're leaving. Her team moved quickly, covering Mira as she deactivated the stabilization field around the artifact. The energy pulsing from it was still intense, but Mira had managed to contain the worst of it. Commander Zale, however, wasn't done. You think you can run? He snarled, stepping forward with his blaster drawn. I'll take that artifact and claim its power for the Vraath Empire. Alya's eyes locked onto Zale, and in that moment she made a decision. She wasn't going to let Zale walk away with the artifact or its power. Without warning, Alya charged toward Zale, her blaster raised. The Vraath commander fired, but Alya was already moving, dodging the shots as she closed the distance between them. With a swift, powerful strike, Alya knocked Zale's blaster out of his hand and then leveled her own weapon at his chest. This ends here, Alya said, her voice low and deadly. Zale's eyes gleamed with fury, but before he could respond, the ground beneath them shook violently, and the entire chamber began to collapse. Captain, we need to move. Kaelin shouted, pulling Alya back toward the exit. Alya hesitated for a moment, her gaze locked on Zale. But there was no time. The chamber was falling apart, and if they didn't leave now, they'd all be buried beneath the rubble. She turned and ran, her team following close behind as the chamber collapsed around them. The artifact, now stabilized but still dangerous, pulsed with a steady glow as they carried it out of the crumbling structure. Back on the stellar dawn, Alya stood on the bridge, her mind reeling from the events of the past few hours. The artifact sat securely in the cargo hold, but the vision it had shown her lingered in her thoughts. The Ascension was more than just a rise to power. It was a transformation, one that could reshape the galaxy. As the ship moved away from the collapsing planet, Alya couldn't shake the feeling that they were running out of time. The Keepers were out there, manipulating the artifacts, guiding the Ascension, and the Vraath were still in pursuit, desperate to claim the power for themselves. But Alya knew one thing for sure. She wasn't going to let either of them succeed. We need to stop the Ascension, Alya said, her voice filled with determination, before it's too late.